Welcome back to Archean, episode 15 of the Cargo Challenge. And in the last episode, made a pit stop instead of a little mining rig. Definitely getting dark. And one thing I forgot about that you can change the brightness of the lights. So we're going to kind of mess with that. Turn it up to, and flip it on. Okay, so that's definitely much better. Now, obviously, with a brighter light, we consume more power. And I was getting curious here. Well, how bright can we make this? Probably having that light higher up would be more useful here. So I'm going to actually move it around a little bit. Now, one statement in the previous episode that was incorrect is I thought what happens at night is that, you have dusk, then it gets really dark, then the moon comes out and it's pretty well lit. And then before the morning, the moon goes down, it gets really, really dark, and then the sun will come up. Well, no. So what happened is a little later in this episode, the moon comes back up again. So we get multiple moon cycles during the night. And so I'm not sure how many we get, but effectively it's, dusk, really dark. At some point the moon comes up. It's lit pretty well, and then it gets dark again, and the moon comes back. And how many times this cycles before dawn, I don't know yet. So this is my first night cycle through the game, and so we're still kind of figuring this out. So right now it's kind of dark, so I figured I'll put some lights on here, and if I put two, one on each side, that should be enough to light up. Although thinking about this now, I should have put them on the end of the pontoons. That probably would have been better than up here. Second guessing myself. So this episode is going to be similar to the last one, is I'm going to spend the beginning part doing some configuration and jibber jabbering, and then we'll start cruising along. And at some point the moon comes out and I can turn the lights off because it's bright enough, and we zip down the coastline even further. I dunk in the water once or twice and able to get out of that without too much problem. And then the end of this episode, I actually ran out of battery power. The main batteries for the propulsion for the wheels go to zero. And it's kind of interesting because when it happens, it starts slowing down. This thing coasts really well, surprisingly. And it might take it a couple minutes to actually stop when it's at, 100 miles per hour. And then we lose power and just kind of coast down to a smooth stop there, which is interesting. And that's my first indication of loss of power. Now, obviously, you can read the battery voltage or battery charge and display that on the computer there. It's something useful to do. And since I have all the batteries sort of interconnected, I just need to track one battery and display that charge, so I have that indication on there. There's a lot more gravy things can be done, and we're sort of slapping these things together. One thing I'm going to do experiment is just how bright can I make this light? And some of them you put a large number in and then it caps it at a lower end. We can play with the angles a little bit. And it's not a convenient place for the light switch. Now I'm trying to think if I can set these. I don't think I can set these settings. These are configuration only, I believe. Okay, I'm going to get a little silly here. I'm curious, just how bright can I make this light? I mean, what's the cap? Like, if I put a really big number, what does it cap it to? And apparently, there's no cap. I mean, the brightness did stop at a certain level of wattage. And I drained that battery in 2 seconds. Yeah. So obviously it consumes power, and if you overdo it, then bad things happen. Oh, I did check the wiki, and you cannot set the power or the angle through code. I think the angle makes sense because it's sort of a physical property of the light. But I think the wattage should be programmable. That would be interesting. And we're back at power again, so we'll keep those reasonably low. And then we'll hook up this one, and we'll set it the same way. Was it 1,000? I'm thinking here one light might be enough, so I can save on power output. That's 1,000. Okay, return. See, now I'm going like, well, now I do all this work, and now the moon's coming out, and I can see. Oh, well, you know, boogers. All right, so we got a little mining thing we set up in the last episode. Getting pretty fast. All right, so I made a change in this one. You do not have to use a conveyor unit if you connect the output of the miner directly to the crusher. This was on Discord, and I go, oh yeah, you can do that. So I didn't bother putting that in there, and you know that makes it a lot easier. And the switch is just connected to both the mining and the crusher. So did pretty good on aluminum here. So we'll collect that. So basically I'm just grabbing a bunch of stuff. I only have one stack. I don't seem to consume it that quickly. I just gotta make a crap load of batteries, and got plenty of water, and yeah, I can see now. I don't have all that work on the light. So this is this funny thing about the moon thing. I thought it was gonna be at dawn or something, but no. Another interesting thing that happens during the driving trip here is that every once in a while I'll become airborne. If there's sort of a, I'm zipping down at over like 100 or so, and there's a slight, slight rise, of really small little hill per se, or crest in the ground, and I hit that, come off of it, I'll actually flip up. I think because we had that flat area underneath between the pontoons is enough for lift. I don't have any anti-wheelie logic on this vehicle. I didn't think wheelies would be an issue. And yeah, we're cranking up. We can see, I don't know if the lights are helping or hurting at this point. I can kind of see the edge of the coast. At once now and then I kind of miss it. So the rest of this episode is going to be zipping down the beach here. I get another, I think, 30 kilometers of distance at the end. I airborne a couple times, and fortunately when I airborne I checked the cargo, and we're still under we haven't hit 4G, I believe, so we still got a G of tolerance before we blow the challenge. And what I'm hoping for is daylight. Once we get daylight, I'll throw a bunch of solar panels on top, and I think the other thing I'm waiting for daylight is going in the water. So I did all this work to make the catamaran, a more efficient naval vessel, but then I'm just spending all my time just sort of going around the beach. Well, because I can't really see where I'm going. So what I want to do is once it hits dawn, I'll go back in the water and I'll kind of look at some distant landmass that's going the opposite direction of the starter base we put up, and head towards it through the water. But right now I can't see that far, so I don't want to just blindly sail off. So I'm just going to follow the beach, keep putting new batteries in there until we hit dawn, and then once we're in that time frame we'll hit the water. And I believe I should be able, that give me enough time to, I think, complete the challenge before the next night cycle going on here. And I figured turn the lights off at this point and zoom up. So we have a pretty good beach. I was kind of curious if the cliff ever hits the edge here, straight to the water, but there's always seems to be a bit of a lip across there, which is interesting. After a while, it does seem to get a little redundant. It's probably because of the procedural generation of the world. You see the same kind of patterns over and over after a certain point. All right, so I'm going to leave it at this point. I'll restore the game sounds to normal, and so we'll be talking. And you can either zip out now or just kind of enjoy the rest of the trip. Until next time, see ya.